First of all, welcome to the DMZ. My name is Sandra Pupatello, and for some of you, this is Sandra coming back. But for many of you, I haven't had an opportunity to meet you before. I am delighted to be here at the DMZ, affiliated with Ryerson University, and especially pleased that Dr. Levy could join us this morning, because he had a whole program, I know, and I just sort of jumped in the middle. And I'm really pleased to have you here, Doctor. It's a delight. The reason I wanted to be at the DMZ is that what you see behind me is critical to the future of Ontario. Today, I'm going to jump in a car and I'm heading to Windsor, to my hometown, and I'm going to launch my campaign for the candidacy, the leadership of the Ontario Liberal Party. And I'm going to do that this evening in my hometown. I'm going to talk about jobs. And the reason I'm doing this is I want the opportunity to have not just the Ontario government, all parties, all of us talking about jobs. It's what I haven't heard much of this year and what I think we need to revert back to. Behind me are young people, entrepreneurs, and out of this site alone has spawned hundreds of businesses, hundreds of jobs. Very clever thinking, the likes of Dr. Levy, bringing the partnerships together from the private sector and government, mentorship, a little bit of seed money, a place for young people to do business, and in the end, we've got great newfound businesses in Ontario. So thank you for allowing me to be here to launch what will be the most important thing for me personally, for my own personal career. The number one priority for me will be jobs. It's not just jobs in Toronto. It's jobs in my hometown of Windsor. It's jobs in the north. It's in Northumberland and Quinte. It's in Wawa. It's in the Ring of Fire. It's in Attawapiskat. It's in all of those places where all of us take our livelihood and where I fear that given the North American economy just not firing on all cylinders yet, we've got to do what we can as government to make sure that that happens. And there's a reason for that. And for me personally to want to do this now, I had 16 great years for me personally where the people of Windsor elected me to Queen's Park. 16 years. Now when I left, they also canonized me, maybe because I left. But 8 of those 16 years I spent as a minister for all of the people of Ontario. My first ministry was Community and Social Services. I had that grassroots opportunity to see what it means when the government has to help needy people, vulnerable people, when the government has to reach out to help people with disabilities. As minister responsible for women's issues, it mattered to me that our government launched the Domestic Violence Action Plan, the likes of which hasn't been seen in North America, not like we did it in Ontario. And we didn't say that, our stakeholders told us that. Then I became Minister of Education. And at that time, we were able to reduce class sizes, and I was proud to be a part of that bigger picture for Dalton McGuinty being the education premier and making it happen for our students. Today, after 8 or 9 years of tremendous investments in our education system, when you click on the website through OECD and you'd say, what's the best education system in the world? You will see a picture of our premier and our education system on that World Wide Web. That matters to me, and it matters to parents right across this province, not just in big cities, but in small towns too. Then I had the time of my life as a Minister for Industry for Ontario, the last 5 years as Minister, to be Economic Development and Trade Minister, to go around the world and sell Ontario. This is where I felt I flourished, because I could tell the Ontario story, because I could tell industry leaders around the world that when you come and invest in Ontario, you're going to do well, not just for you, but for your employees. That your executives don't have to send their kids to a private school. No, our public schools are as good as any private school in the world. And when they came, they realized that that was true. So we did bring investment. In fact, when I was industry minister, in the heat of our recession, the likes of which our generation hasn't seen, we, 3 years in a row, created more jobs by foreign direct investment than any jurisdiction in North America in the height of our recession. That wasn't just me doing that. That was business doing that, because our government was able to level that playing field for business, make it a good place to invest. So this accumulated experience as a minister on the social side, on education, on industry tells me that when we have good jobs in Ontario, we as a Liberal government get to do the things that we want to do. On education, on healthcare, take care of our old people, take care of our young people. Be the government that the people want to see. So today I'm proud to launch my bid for leader of my party. I've been a Liberal since I was 14 years old, working at the feet of Herb Gray. Herb Gray told me the other day, he said, Sandra, I'm going to endorse you. And I said, Herb, you waited until after Dwight Duncan left the race. Anyway, it is a real honor for me to put my name forward. We have great candidates that are coming into this race for the Ontario Liberal Party and to be the Premier of Ontario. People who have so much to give still, I'm going to take good ideas from them. And if I win this leadership, I am going to take good ideas from the opposition, especially when they're talking to us about jobs, because I believe they have some, and I'm going to get them. And if I become the Premier of Ontario, I'm going to take those ideas and put them into action. So if I can, just leave you with 3 thoughts about who I am. I'm about jobs. That's going to be my mantra. It's going to be what I want my government to focus on, because I know when we do that, all of our government ministries will flourish. Second, I'm pretty frugal. It's how I grew up. It's the expectation that my family has of me, and I'm going to bring that to bear in how the government operates. I want to gain the public trust on that front. And third, what you see is what you get. I want to be that transparent person that speaks openly and straightforwardly to the public of Ontario, even when it's ugly. I think the public deserves that, and I want to be that person. So today, I'm picking up this challenge. I'm going to start in my hometown of Windsor, and I'm going to ask for their support to help make me the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. And if I'm successful and I can become the Premier of Ontario, I'm going to take this message to the public. I'm going to say, work with me, all sides of the House. We're going to make it work, and we are going to make jobs in every part of Ontario, urban and rural, northern and southern. I've done it, I loved it, and I am going to do this again. Thank you for being here today. I'm happy to take some questions, but only the easy ones. Alors, un peu en français. Pour moi, c'est la priorité, c'est de l'emploi, la création de l'emploi. Pour moi, c'est une chose très importante. C'est une chose pour moi que j'étais comme ministre. C'est une chose que je fais 24 heures chaque jour. Et je suis excitée pour avoir l'avenir, l'opportunité de faire encore pour la province d'Ontario. Merci bien.
Qu'est-ce qui vous fait croire, Madame Pupatello, que vous serez
A little bit louder,
Qu'est-ce
please.
qui vous fait croire que si vous remportez le leadership, vous allez être capable de battre Temoudak lors de la prochaine élection?
Je pense que la première chose pour moi, c'est le candidat pour le Parti libéral. Après ça, je veux parler avec la population d'Ontario pour dire, j'ai le message qui est si important, c'est juste la création de l'emploi pour la population. Je pense que les autres deux, ils veulent marcher avec moi comme avec ce message.
Et pour créer de l'emploi, vous allez faire quoi? Vous allez réduire les impôts? Vous allez donner des subventions? Quel est votre plan pour créer de
Je pense que nous avons fait assez avec le niveau de la taxe, par exemple. C'est d'être un peu plus agressif pour tout le monde, pour dire ici en Ontario, c'est le place, seulement le place pour faire l'investissement. We've proven that we can do this in the height of the recession. Imagine from the Premier's chair to go around the world and say, come to Ontario. Many will presume that our competition is other parties, the Hudaks and the Horvats. It's not. It's the governor of California. It's the governors of the American states that surround Ontario. That's our competition. We're determined to bring those jobs to Ontario, and I am the best person that can do that. I am excited about this opportunity to do so.
Sandra, you have a very unique style and approach. Let's look forward to possibly a general election and Ontario voters in general. You're one of the attack dogs from the opposition. Do you think Ontarians are ready for your in-your-face style?
I think in the early days for Sandra Pupatello, it was what was required at the time. When I entered the House in 1995, you spoke up or you got rolled over, and I was not going to let that happen for the people of Ontario. Over the years, I'd say I've become wiser. Some errors in judgment, perhaps, I've improved. The best part about me is that when I do something really dumb, I actually learn from that. So I think it's fair to say I'm wiser, grayer and wiser today. So do I have a different style? I'm going to let the people decide. But I said there are three things I really need people to know about me. I'm about jobs. It's where I flourished when I was in government. It's what I missed when I left government. I had a great year in the private sector while I was out. And while I was out, I had that opportunity to look in and say, what actually matters to the people? It's that comfort of how am I doing? How's my job? Do I need a better one? Will my kids have a job when they graduate after they've been through 4 or 6 or 8 years of school? I want to make a difference there, and I think I can do that. I'm excited about it. I'm going to take all of that experience, I'm going to pour it into that Premier's chair, and I hope the people of my own party will let me do that, and then I hope the people of Ontario are going to let me stay there.
Sandra, speaking of learning from your mistakes, did Dalton McGuinty make a mistake when he shut down those power plants?
I think in retrospect, he may have done things differently right from the front end, just on energy generally and how it relates to local communities. I will tell you that having been away, not at the cabinet table in those decisions, it's difficult to know from out here, to have all of the granularity to make decisions like that. I think in the end, we wish the outcome was certainly different. I expect that this point forward is going to be different.
You were at the cabinet table, though, when the Oakville decision was made, weren't you?
I think, again, a lot of those things in hindsight would be done differently, even by those who are still there. And the Premier, I think, said as much just about a week ago that, you know, when you see the outcome, you wish it would have been different. Hindsight's 20/20. Looking in the rearview mirror is always easier. At the time, lots of things poured into decisions that made it the right thing to do. Today, I think they may have done things differently.
You say for a change is your slogan, and talk about being a different kind of leader, what kind of a leader Ontario needs now. How's that not an implied criticism of Dalton McGuinty and what he's been as a leader for 8 years? Why do we need a change?
Dalton McGuinty gave me a huge opportunity for my political career. He put me in ministries that made me learn the importance of government and learn the importance of being in the middle of the political spectrum. I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm right in the middle. I'm a centrist who understands the importance of business so that governments get the revenues they need to do things in the way a liberal government would do. Invest in education, smaller class sizes, understanding that test scores for Ontario kids matters when you put us against the world stage and our students have to be on top. I get excited about that opportunity. For me, am I different from Premier McGuinty? I'm going to let the people decide that. I used to always tell him I wish he were more Italian. Other than that, I got along with him very well. In our time, I think people bring a different leadership to what's required at that time. There are many great leaders that never get the opportunity. I hope I'm the right leader for this time.
Sandra, what's in your bag of chips?
Welcome, by the way, Karen. I know you've had a very difficult week. I appreciate you coming today. Thank you.
Where do you stand on the wage freeze legislation? Kathleen Wynne has already said if she becomes Premier, she would think it would be nuked, that they could reach negotiated settlements. Where are you on that?
Well, in having an opportunity, at least at a local level, because I haven't done so at the provincial level, I haven't wanted to muddy the waters with the provincial leaders right now. When I was the Minister of Education, I had a very good working relationship with the leaders of all of the federations. It also wasn't during contract times. The system that our government has had at the provincial table really worked when we had lots of money, has become very problematic when we don't. So I would say that my focus will be to call in provincial leaders to talk about what system we're going to need going forward to make these kinds of negotiations work. By the time we get to the end of January, when one of us as leaders wins, much of this bill particularly will be moot. It'll be done. I have to look forward to working with teachers and understanding that the reason I do what I do is because I had the best teachers on the planet. They know that, and they constantly call me to remind me of it as well. I'll tell you that teachers are our partners in why our education system works. So we need to have a good relationship with them, and I plan to be the one doing that.
This government has spent 3 years trying to
I'm sorry?
This government has spent 3 years trying to get a wage freeze for
done in a couple of months? How is that going to happen?
No, I don't. I think in the next several months, between now and the end of January, my focus will be running and winning to be the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. I know that now, even as we speak, there is a truce between the teachers and the government while they actually get back to the table. I'm delighted to hear that. I think parents are delighted to hear that. They do want to see this resolved. I think if we look at how it's going to be in the future, if I'm the leader and premier of Ontario, they are going to know that they'll have the same kind of relationship with me as they had when I was their minister. That is a very open and transparent one. My last 5 years as Minister of Economic Development and Trade, I had labor leaders on the phone, whether we were yelling or hugging, I was able to talk to them. And we actually made it work for people, because in the end it's about jobs. And that's what I'm going to be about. My focus will be jobs. Yes, sorry?
If you become premier, how quickly will you bring the House back? You know, obviously it's Baroque now. How quickly would you get back to work?
Well, I plan to have a seat in the House before that House would open. I don't want my party in the House without me in it as the leader.
Are you guaranteeing that you're coming back to public life now, or is your running again contingent on winning?
Well, right now I'm running for the leader of the Liberal Party. After that, it's really up to the Liberals to decide what role I might play. I'm obviously standing for them, and if they'll have me, I'm back.
So does that mean you wouldn't bring the House back at all until there was, like, how would you get into the House? When would you get into the House?
Well, I'd likely have to look at a seat that might come available for me, run in it, and have a seat in the House.
Mr. Duncan said he would resign to allow you to run in his seat?
Yes, he has.
Okay, so how quickly then would you have a byelection?
Actually, we're going to see what happens during the leadership race, because I want to win the leadership of my party, and after that I'm being very clear that I need to have a seat in the House. And I've had a number of people call me from across Ontario with all kinds of opportunities. If I could choose, I'd like to take a seat from the opposition. That would be my goal.
Why do you have to have a seat in the House before you can bring the House back?
Because as the leader of the party, I think it's appropriate to be in the House and do that. The House is typically closed through March. That would be standard. So mid-January, usually the House starts to look at dates, etc. Usually there's been a throne speech in the middle of March. There's been a budget before the end of March. That's been very standard. Right now my focus is going to be to win the leadership of my party and become the premier.
The House comes back after Family Day in mid-February.
Yes, actually, that's been addressed already. I haven't taken all of it even at this point, but if I get back in the House, I'd certainly be doing that.
The House comes back in mid-February after Family Day, whatever that is, the 18th or the 19th. So
I hope to have a seat in the House. No, I hope to have a seat in the House by the time I come back.
En français sur ce point. Donc, si vous êtes élu, dites-nous comment est-ce que vous comptez avoir un siège? Comment allez-vous être élu député? How are you going to be elected before?
Il y a beaucoup de députés aujourd'hui qui ont demandé la même chose, et on fait une offrir aussi, comme mon collègue de Windsor qui a dit pour moi, si ça va, je peux être élu à Windsor. Pas mon siège, mais le siège de Dwight. Alors, j'ai quelques offrir de penser, le vrai chose, le vrai pas. Pour aujourd'hui, la première chose est la campagne d'être le leader de le Parti libéral. C'est la chose plus importante.
You left the government on the eve of what everyone was expecting to be a difficult election, which turned out to be a difficult election. Are there is there any sense from your former colleagues that you abandoned them, and is that maybe why I don't see any MPPs from the caucus here today?
No, as a matter of fact, when I did announce, it was several months before the election, and there hadn't been talk even of a minority government at that time. And so when I sat actually in our living room in Newfoundland helping my husband, who's joined me today, for his election, I watched the election that night, and I was obviously disappointed to see some of my colleagues not win, but my seat won handily by 5,000 votes. My candidate, Teresa Perusa, won handily in my seat, and I was proud of the legacy that I left in Windsor. So I think that in the end I did the right thing. My premier was aware. Just want to make sure everybody's okay. My premier was aware of what I was doing, and he was pleased. I'd had 16 years, and I think many people didn't realize it had been that long. For me personally, I had to see that, A, there wasn't going to be a leadership. So if I was going to do the next thing for me in my career, it would have been a run for leader. So I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to do this now.
Sandra, was Dalton McGuinty right to prorogue the House while this was on?
Well, again, not being at the cabinet table at that time, there's probably all kinds of pieces of information that went into that decision that I'm not aware of. I think in hindsight, they may have done something different. I'm not sure that they would have. What I understand is the House that I left is not the House that was there in these last several weeks. I would have a hard time, Paul.
Like, would you just walk away if discourse? And
No, but I do think that everybody's got to have, look, you mentioned earlier about me being an attack dog. I would be mortified had I ever been thrown out of the House when I was in the chamber. It seemed to be de rigueur, though, in the last several weeks. It would be a very difficult place to watch Conservative caucus members doing high fives and chest bumps in the aisleways of the chamber. In that kind of environment, with bells ringing 20 hours straight to say, what? First they don't want to get any work done, and now they're angry that the House was prorogued. So I think there's a lot of information that isn't public that would make us realize, I guess we can see why they made that decision. My interest is getting in that House, opening that House, but I will say this. If I am elected leader of my party, the first calls I'm going to make is to the leaders of the opposition. And I'm going to say, come and talk to me. Tell me what we can do on this agenda. I guarantee you they will have good things to offer. And I am guaranteeing that we're going to take those great ideas.
Are you going to pay back the severance that you
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell us how much that was that you got?
Well, I only took part of it, so I will give back. I will give back that severance. It's also tax, so all of that detail it will go back. If I claim a seat in the House, I think that's the obvious thing to do, and it's been done before as well.
So if there's a by-election in February, if Mr. Duncan steps down, does that mean you need a new finance minister to do the budget?
I think we'll worry about that. I hope I have those questions to worry about because I want to win this leadership. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see you on the campaign trail. I'm going to invite every one of you to come down to Windsor and join me tonight. It is where Ontario begins. For me, it's where I learned at the knee of some great politicians about public service. I want to come back and do this for the people of Ontario. Thanks for joining me here today, and please come to Windsor and join me for the party.